insulating glass. The one thing that I didn't get into is some of the requirements that are associated with us whenever we design SSG systems. And so everybody kind of knows that we go through a design of the structural sealant bite. And ultimately, whenever we go through this in a sheet of calculations, we have to dimension this. We have to show this on the drawing somewhere. And so this is a commonly missed item that does not get picked up in the drawings that I see from job to job. So make sure that we have some sort of a detail where we're calling out this structural sealant bite width. In addition to that, another item that gets looked over is this secondary sealant. Whenever we've got an insulated glass that is in an SSG position and design, we have got to call out this secondary sealant, because if we do not call this out as structural silicone and a width to it, there could be an error by the insulated glass manufacturer, and they might put in a wrong type of secondary sealant. In other words, they might use a PIB for common type insulated glass that should not be used with SSG type systems. That's my concern. So we have to call this out as structural silicone for the secondary sealant, and we have to call out a minimum bite. Now, standardizing on this minimum bite, I know there's been a couple different things that have been floated around. Usually, you know, we have a standard that is 5/16 inch. Is that right, Matt Q?
Yes, that's correct. That's the minimum.
Yeah, and that minimum is kind of obscure. That comes out of a standard. I think it's the GAINA standard for a bite, you know, for SSG. So ultimately, 5/16 is what we should be using as that minimum. And then up here, I don't think that we ever get less than 3/8 of an inch. It probably should be a standard of 3/8 of an inch of for the main structural bite of silicone. Anything else that needs to be added to that, team leads or anybody?
No, I think that's good. I guess I do have one question. I've had on that convention center job where we weren't running any of the glass analysis. It was ran by the manufacturer and it was already ordered, essentially. Yeah. What's a good way? Because I know that's extremely important, obviously, but at the same time, it's not technically in our scope, so it's kind of a weird gray area. And I did get just a little bit of pushback when I increased the thickness on a couple of them. What's the best way to handle that?
Yeah, so let me, that's a great question. Let me clarify the question. So it was not in our scope to design the insulated glass, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so in that case, we would stop our design at this structural silicone bite, the main SSG structural silicone. And so we should show that. But if I don't know where the pushback was at, whether it was in this area of the secondary silicone or
secondary,
if it, yeah. So if we've got this excluded from our scope, we need to make sure that that is detailed in the shop drawings, that that's the design of the insulated glass is not in our scope, and therefore we don't have to show that.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question.
Hey, and I would just add a quick note, and I know Kent recently was working on a project that the 3/4 inch maximum deflection within the glass slide came around, and I think this is a good time to highlight why we want to limit the deflection within each glass slide to 3/4 of an inch, is that so that we don't start tearing those internal components of the IGU, one of them being that 5/16 inch sealant. So right. for the newer people, that's one of the things that could fail if we allow each each glass piece within a given DLO to deflect more than 3/4 of an inch. That's why we keep that limitation. And that's important whenever we have like multi-span frames and we put a splice in a location that shoots up our deflection. That's one of the things to be careful, is that you're not having like a peak deflection within a DLO light that could be pushing that glass past that 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah, very good point, Javier. So the secondary sealant, usually PIB for captured systems, there's always a requirement that we maintain that 3/4 of an inch maximum deflection within in a glass light, because it's proven in the past that these seals, if you start bending the insulated glass system more than that, these seals start giving way.